don't have to motion.
You need translation?
Yeah, we have.
Just checking translation.
Yeah. Yeah, it's scheduled for that. Can we just start, right? Or
Yeah, you can start now if you want.
Great.
I was around table this morning in the... that was fine. Yeah, that's the first session today.
I get the technical guy. Is he in here?
Coupez le micro. Il est allumé.
Okay.
C'est bon?
Yeah. Hey, Rob.
So, good day to you all. I'm Christian from FSC Denmark, and I'm here to talk to you about yachting. First of all, I need to say, and you might not understand that, there is for translation in French, there is headphones up here. So we have translators on, so please use headphones.
Yeah.
Could you say that in French, that there's headphones up here?
Ceux qui veulent avoir des écouteurs, là, pour suivre la traduction, ils sont là. Faites signe, on va vous les amener.
Great. Oh well. We've been working on a little project. It right now goes under the name From Forests to the Ocean, and it's a project supported by the foundation, Prince Monaco II, who have supported us in this. Actually, they contacted us to say if we could transfer some of the activities we've done towards the building sector and the design sector, and do a little on the yachting part, because it's challenged and it needed innovation. I'll get to that. By the way, I'm a Christian and I'm advisor and project manager in FSC Denmark, and specialist in lesser known timber species and the tropical development of markets. And I have here with me Tijmen Hennekes, who is in FSC Netherlands and do more or less the same as I do. So we are working close together on the promotion activities and the market development of tropical timber. Anyways, it's an important sector for tropical, the yachting, not in volume, but I would say in many other aspects. I'll get to that. But first of all, I think we should take it a bit back to the forest and say that there is a close connection between the forest and the sea, and it goes all back to the natural systems of our climate, the forest, the rain when it falls through streams down to the ocean, and we also have a close cultural connection to the sea. We see already in the beginning of human life, they used the sea to travel the world, and we also see as we became more and more efficient in our way to build that we were a challenge, that the shipbuilding sector was a challenge to the world forest, and some of the best cases on that might be the Cuba mahogany that were Spanish monopoly, and I think actually today there is more mahogany in shipwrecks than there is in the forest, and that's a challenge. and we don't want to see that go that way for other species. And then said the yachting sector is not a high volume business for timber in that way, but it brings a lot of signaling, and it is a innovative industry where many things are transferred to other industries after this. So like Formula 1 cars and space travel, the yachting sector goes ahead and it sets some directions on many aspects. And if we go to the general boat market, there is a lot of boats out there that need repairs and needs to be built, and that have decks and interior. So it's important to have focus on this sector. And if we look at the environmental recommendations for the yachting sector and what innovation that we see in this industry, the Monaco Foundation every year publishing a guide for this, and would have not yet been targeted that high. The innovation part is mostly on fuel consumption. It's on solar energy. It's on paintings and poisons and stuff like that for the sea, how they affect the waters. But in there has been a little on, but looking into the wood sector also surprised us how challenging it is on the technical part, because this is very technical timber that is needed for this specific Timon will talk a bit more about the needs for this industry and the requirements to timber, because it's a challenge. But there is some tendencies that are really relevant for the sector to follow. And we are living in a world where we are moving away from all the fossils. So the plastics are going out. We use less metals and so on. So bio-based materials are in high value and is set to be the replacement of some traditional materials. That said, in the timber sector, wood is the traditional thing, but it became, how do you say, secondary as we got a lot of fiber materials. Then we see the need for CSR reporting. That's more and more. We see the tropical timber as both a challenge and a solution, and we as FSC try to keep the bio-based materials in. That would say both non-timber forest products, and that could be cork or any other forest-based material. But but still keep tropical timber in as an important thing in this industry that we see. And we have major tendencies on deforestation-free products from EU, for instance, much more, and now also life cycle analysis, EPD, LCAs, where we need to have more details on the materials used in general. So there is a lot to look into for this industry. They might not have been a tradition for doing. So what we plan to do is, from other sectors, we have great experience in FSC with what we call pre-competitive partnerships, that we gather up competitors, suppliers, producers, and seek out the solutions for the challenges that we have. And that is also what from oceans to from forests to the oceans will be. And first of all, it will be a pact for both the suppliers to the industry, but also the shipbuilders. And some of the things that we have addressed is simply setting targets on sustainable timber and non-timber forest products. As I said, there's also a lot of solution in for instance, cork. Network activities to address all these challenges and solutions, and much of this that is innovation and technology in the way we use wood. That will, we'll have a special focus on tropical timber, diversify the use of species. Again, develop these bio-based solutions that can take over for that challenge. Everybody talking about the teak, the teak for decking. And and then we will actually also go a bit more into product certification. I will say a bit more about that. And of course, we need to promote the initiative so it also are promoted to the shipbuilding industry in general. And we will. This is a little something from our new website coming up, but that is the main area we will work with. We will try to inform about how to specify sustainable in your procurement and in your production. Also visualize who is actually able to deliver certified materials for living up to your policies. And then we have a field about the innovation needed and wood technology needed and the alliances we can build about that. And at the end, we hope that we get the first FSC project certified yard. We haven't had any yet, but that is a big vision for us. And project certification is something that we see in the building industry, and it's really a good tool for those who might not be, how do you say, fit for a normal certification. Maybe you just do a little something or it's just this project that needs certification. Then you can actually get this certificate on what you used of timber, and you can get a percentage on how much certified timber you have used in such a project. And to get there, that can be a difficult process or difficult. You actually just need to know it, but finding the right pathway on getting a certified product is what we can assist a shipbuilder with in this, and what we want to do. But before we can have the first FSC certified yard, we need to make sure that we have the materials to build the ship, and that we have certified resources to do it with. And sometimes that's also changing product lines and supply chains and do it a bit different. So it's and again it's a technical thing with the timber. And Timon have looked a bit more into to the interesting field of marine timbers. So he will say a bit more about that.
Thank you, Christian. Okay. First, before we continue into the specifics on what timber is used for a yacht, we have to visualize a little bit ourselves being on a ship. So what different types of timber are we seeing on a ship? What applications do we see? Under what conditions are those timber species functioning? Because we can imagine if we sail into the north, to the North Pole, we have extreme conditions under frost, winds, a lot of water. But then again, when we go to the south, because a ship is a mobile thing, it travels around the world, then it will be under very different conditions. We have the salt water, we have the sun, the decking can endure itself under conditions of maybe 100 degrees. So when we are talking about stability of the timber and durability of the timber, we find ourselves in the most extreme conditions. But this is not only exterior timber, but we are also talking about interiors. And those are the luxury types of timbers. We're talking about veneers. However, it's also construction, plywood. And the interesting thing that we found looking at the yachting industry is that when they use a lot of timber from different regions, and of course as FSC we keep track on the amount of certified companies in certain industries. And a yacht builder that is FSC certified is quite hard to find. So that is actually where the impact can be made. We know that the supply chains are available. We know that there are FSC certified forests. We have a supply chain that runs almost directly to the yachting industry. However, we can convince them and show them where those suppliers are, and use our knowledge of sustainable supply chains to give new opportunities within this industry. Can I get the next slide? All right. And then I wanted to give some extra attention to the headache of the industry, the ship deck headache, and that is teak, and specifically teak that comes from Burma. This timber species has a very specific growth area, which gives the product very the properties to function under these extreme conditions. Teak is known to have an oil-based natural oil, so when it gets wet, you get friction on the deck. It's extremely stable in dimensional stability. It has a high durability. But this means that it's very hard to find an alternative. And there has been a big search for good alternatives to replace teak, because we know that teak from Burma at this point in Europe is not available. It is in fact illegal to import teak due the legislation of the EU timber regulations. So what else can we do? We can go to the ship industry and look together with them to find solutions. However, their opinion at this point is, if it doesn't look like teak, it doesn't smell like teak, it doesn't function like teak, then it is not teak. So that's a change of mindset that we need to bring there. But there's also another option, and that is technical solutions. And that is something we are strong in as a wood industry. And for that we need collaboration, as in the Sustainable Timber Pact that we're organizing as FSC. And yeah, but there are already some solutions there. And this is not just FSC that's working towards solutions. This is a full industry that's looking for alternatives like cork, which is actually a bio-based solution. And that is what we really hope, that we keep bio-based solutions in the supply chain of yachting. Because products like PVC all have an expanded foam, all have their own downsides. So we should look into that. And I have the next slide. Right. And then we look at some of the traditional species. Decking, of course, we see a lot of Burmese teak, but also Iroko and Doucier are some of the species that we see in the lower class segments of yachting. So we look at the smaller sailing vessels. But then marine flooring for the interiors. Like I said before, we are looking at luxury types of timbers, also veneers. Hull and keel is in some cases for traditional ships still made out of timber. Mast and booms, larch and pine, exterior mortise and trim. You can imagine there is a large, a great variety of timber species that this industry is demanding. So if you can go to the next slide. Let's not turn our backs on tropical timber. Let's find our ways to include bio-based materials in this industry that is developing, and let's stimulate these developments as a timber industry.
And if there is a question from the crowd, we will be very open to take that, comments or input, or maybe even how do you say, initiatives to move ahead and reach the goal of maybe the first FSC certified yacht. Who knows? Maybe the partnership is in this room. Yeah, do mark if you have a question, or else we will say thank you for your interest.
Thank you. What are the current sources that you're looking at? What countries?
Specific on the decking or in general? I think in general, if we go back to this overview, for the interior, for instance, we have a great variety of species that could be used, and where we are right now only limited by tradition. And so this we could actually start to do tomorrow. And again, it would be needed to see what is actually in the forest or in Africa, what is available for alternatives to the very traditional. Sometimes the traditional are good because they are plentiful, and they might have a less complicated growth or a harvest age or whatever. So it's not that it is well known that makes it bad. But in many ways it's about diversifying the use and give more product range for the foresters for more income, and that's actually the mission of all we do. So for these there are an open highway to use more diverse, but also go for this. Then we see a lot of innovation on plantation teak. See how far can you go. We see interest in modification of timber. We have Matthias down here who are very interested in that part, I can tell you. So maybe the solution is somewhere between, but what we've seen on the decking part is that the lifespan of the Douchet or Iroko is not as Burmese teak. So what is it they offer, and what will the market accept, and when is it balanced? When will they choose PVC or plastics or something instead of timber? That's the balance. So it is modification maybe of these traditional, also alternatives, or find those who are stable and can work under these conditions. So I cannot say that there is any specifics, only the need of innovate on decking, and then be very open for these easy replacements we can actually do. And again, it all comes back to procuring certified materials for this, and everybody can make a procurement policy, make a stepwise implementation, and make sure you reach your goal on the way. If you're not already doing that, then yeah, I don't know if you have.
My question is also Afromosia in the past used to be also a topic on yachts and boats. Not necessarily yachts, more boats. But this is a CITES species, Annex 2, which does not prohibit it from being commercialized, but which needs authorization. You did not mention, is there a reason, or is there less interest? It's just a question, it's not a...
This list that we have compiled, it was actually just to give some of the examples. There's a good chance there are a lot of timber species that we've not presented here. We are aware of Afromosia. It is one of the favorite species, but also when we have one of the preliminary discussions with the ship deck experts, so the suppliers to the yachting industry, they would love to use more Afromosia. However, because it has some of its restrictions, they cannot deal in large volumes. So it's also a very commercial industry who is looking at size. So Afromosia could be included in small portion, of course. And this is maybe a little bit more about the timber diversification that we're always talking about, and how you can include species like these. But I think the first steps within a yachting industry, which is not that far ahead concerning CSR, the first step would be ensuring sustainable timber within these supply chains, and from there on look at specific timber species. Yeah.
I don't see any hands, and we are also, time is up for us. So, yeah, thank you for listening. And yeah.